All gods in Fear and Hunger explained. In this video, I'll go over all the gods, old gods, new gods, and ascended gods, and give a quick explanation of every god we know about. Before we start, I'll quickly go over the different types of gods that we know about. First off, we have the old gods. These are the OGs. Every old god's place of origin is the green hue. We don't know much about the green hue, but some believe it to be a sort of primordial soup for the gods. All gods are the truest and purest types of gods. Most, if not all, are older than the world itself. They usually represent an idea of purity, one of natural order. But over time, as humans developed, all gods have slowly phased out of the world and have become less influential. The new gods is what happens when impurity meets godly powers. All new gods were ordinary humans before they ascended and became new gods. What type of new god one becomes is dependent on what type of soul the character was born with. Unfortunately though, they will never be able to achieve the same powers as the old gods. To achieve the powers of a new god, one will have to find the ancient city of Mahavre, which used to be the city where old gods resided and where one could worship them. Since the old gods dipped, people could get a glimpse of god power and ascend to become a deity themselves, for a time at least. Once new gods have ascended and fucked around a little bit, they'll usually retire in the Grand Hall once their influence and reign has fallen. Ascended gods, much like new gods, are humans who have ascended and gained godlike powers. The only difference being, ascended gods' powers are more akin to the likes of old gods. Those few who have ascended this way has a few things in common, that being one of their biological parents was a new god, and that they also in some way are connected with an old god. Alright, let's start off with the most famous or infamous old god, which is Grogoroth. Grogoroth is the god of destruction and human sacrifices. Grogoroth existed before even the dawn of our world, and his contribution helped create the world we know of in Fear and Hunger. Grogoroth is a curious god, and is said to have visited the world disguised as men and women to experience the world and its inhabitants. At the time we, the player, start experiencing the world firsthand, Grogoroth has already left the world. What remains of him are only traces. Grogoroth left the world due to humans' constant evolution. The idea of Grogoroth himself were corrupted by humankind. The purity of what they once stood for had left the consciousness of most humans. We see so many different interpretations of Grogoroth while playing through the game of Fear and Hunger. The humans evolved, but not the way Grogoroth wanted. But even though Grogoroth left the world a long time ago, there are still a lot of followers of this old god. Followers of Grogoroth can get access to small fractions of his power. This is considered blood magic among humans, and consists of spells like Hurting, Black Orb, Necromancy, Pyromancy, and Blood Golem. Some examples of his followers include the Wolf Masks and the Yellow Mages. Even then, there's a difference in how people worship Grogoroth. The Wolf Masks seem to truly devote themselves to Grogoroth by doing cannibalistic rituals, while the Yellow Mages only seem to worship Grogoroth to get access to his power. Sylvian is the goddess of fertility, love, lust, and creation. She is the polar opposite of Grogoroth, but even so, they work in tandem. For destruction to happen, there needs to be creation. And with creation comes destruction. Together, Sylvian and Grogoroth represented the things humans are known for the best: love and war. Without Sylvian, there would be no humans. Literally. She created men and women. With the help of Viltruvia, they made an architectural reprography of man and woman that was supposed to reflect Sylvian in a way. And thus, Sylvian decided to create humankind. Sylvian's presence in the games are limited, which is for the better. We can meet a few worshippers of Sylvian in the first game, the Bunny Masks. This is a sex cult. They make love in Sylvian's name, which doesn't sound too bad, but too much of a good thing is always bad. Sylvian's love is unmatched. She's crazier than every ex you've ever had. Her love can be twisted and disturbed. One of the rituals that can increase the affinity with Sylvian is the marriage of flesh. Making love to a consenting partner on a ritual circle will fuse the bodies and make a disgusting combination of the two creatures. With enough affinity with Sylvian, you can also get access to her healing powers, such as Loving Whispers and Healing Whispers. Be careful though, since using this power too much is said to bring madness on the user. Venushka is the god of nature. Surprisingly enough, Venushka is the offspring of Grogoroth and Sylvian. This makes a lot of sense when you think about it, since nature in its purest form is a combination of life and death. One could say it's the rules of nature. Venushka's original name is actually Ninush. This was the name given by Sylvian. But Venushka is apparently dead. According to the Enki Bible, that is. This happened a long time ago. Humans and nature were at war. Humans were becoming too greedy and wanted to claim nature for themselves. This resulted in the death of Venushka. Venushka actually means guilt and is what the god is referred to after its death. So, Venushka is dead. Or is he? Venushka's death is of great debate. The Enki skin Bible is the one that tells us that Venushka is dead. The Vatican did not like that and made their own censored version, which did not speak of Venushka's death. We also have Donovan Hugo, who directly criticizes the notion that an old god can die in the God Manifesto. It's also highly likely Hugo had a part in censoring the Vatican Bibles, so it's not really clear what is true. But the most trustworthy author would probably be Enki, due to his ambition for knowledge. There are not many known worshippers of Venushka. The owl cultists protect the nature to the best of their abilities, so it's believed these guys are followers of Venushka. Iki Turso is also a character that we can meet in Fear and Hunger Termina, who says he awaits his master, Venushka. Followers of Venushka get access to some of its powers like Pyromancy Trick, Roots that Reap, and Photosynthesis. If you also have some affinity with Grogoroth or Sylvian, you also get access to even more power. This also enforces the family tree aspect that these gods have. The God of the Depths is a little odd. He's not as popular as the other guys. He represents the idea of darkness, I guess. Only the most forsaken and forgotten kind would ever worship or cling to the power of such an odd god. He exists purely as a savior for the deprived. Even though the God of the Depths seems like an incel kind of, he does actually have a bride. The Maiden of the Depths. It is apparently a human chosen as a bride for this old god. With the power of god and anime on her side, she has been fused to the thicket, which we can explore in the first Fear and Hunger game. The thicket is then connected with the dungeons of Fear and Hunger, which then is also connected to both Mahavre and the God of the Depths. Oh yeah, the God of the Depths is also one of the few old gods we actually see with a physical presence in the mortal realm. It is not exactly clear how or why this god is present in the way it is, but that's just how it is, I guess. Getting affinity with the God of the Depths give you access to powers like mastery over insects. This will literally make you the master of all insects, making them friendly or even helpful to you. Rare, the trickster moon god, the god of the insane, and the main culprit of the Termina festival. Kinda. Rare is literally just the moon. Rare, being the trickster moon god and all, is also surprisingly enough known for depicting truths with his moonlight. People subjected to this truth are often driven to madness. We can see this happen firsthand while playing Termina, with the Moonscorched enemies and the Moonscorched contestants. Rare is also a jealous guy. He despises the human ambition to gain godly powers, and his followers' main objective is to stop any potential human beings to attain the power of a god. His best known followers are the Pocket Cat and the Lady of the Moon. Worshippers of Rare can get access to powers like Mind Read, Reveal Aura, and the Golden Gates. Reveal Aura just lets you see other Moonscorched guys, and the Golden Gates lets you enter a completely new realm. All over the map in Fear and Hunger Termina, you can find ritual circles with the rare sigils that lets you explore dimensions of nightmares. In these dimensions, we can also find some Golden Gates, which can be accessed by the Golden Gates skill. This lets us traverse dimensions easier and safer, and there are even some secrets in these Golden Gates if you search enough. Next up are the new gods, and oh boy, there are quite a few. The first known new god we know about would be Betel. He is the one who created the libraries found in Mahavre. He is known as the Enlightened One because he was born with the Enlightened Soul. Every new god with the Enlightened Soul after him will contribute to the library with their own research and information. There's not much known about this new god except for the fact he was the one to make the libraries in Mahavre. But there are still remnants of him, like the Ring of Betel that can be found in both the first and the second game. Nashra is the successor of Betel, and he was also, of course, born with the Enlightened Soul. Nashra is known for being rather mean, to put it lightly. After ascending and becoming a new god himself, he eventually found himself despising the concept of new gods. Even with the Enlightened Soul, he didn't gain knowledge to primarily expand the libraries and knowledge of the world. Rather, he wanted knowledge so that he himself could become grander, wiser, and better than others. He is a selfish god, but even so, he might be right about the fact that the new gods shouldn't exist. Nashra ascended as a new god in the year 410, after Olmir. He is still alive in the year of 1942, and is currently the new god who has influenced the world the longest, as he still hasn't retired to the Grand Hall like most other new gods. Even though I don't think the new gods would even accept Nashra in the Grand Hall, because he hates them, so... Nashra is also the one responsible for making the Yellow Mages. These mages, as mentioned earlier, worships Grogoroth, and that is purely for their own gain. Even Nashra's creations are egotistical like himself. In the first game, you can recruit Nashra as a party member. At this time, around the 1590s, he's merely a floating head. Even then, he possesses great power, and if you're humble enough and show him proof of god power, he'll take mercy on you. This is purely logical for Nashra, as the player will eventually explore the ancient city of Mahavre, bringing down the current new gods, which is just the thing Nashra wants himself. Nashra also wants you to take him to the laboratory to create a physical body that he can use. This doesn't end well though, as Nashra deems the physical body unworthy of his prowess. Later in the year of 1942, in Fair and Hunger Termina, Nashra's body is completely cooked. Literally. And can't engage in combat, his eyes are just hollow dark sockets, and the most he can do is guide the player with his knowledge of the world. Nashra is a remnant of the past. His only goal is to eradicate new gods, but this task is seen as impossible, as humans' desire for power seem to only increase as the years go by. Even so, he's still alive and does what he can to stop humans' greed for power in some twisted ways. Coming up is a gang, a quintet actually. In the year of 809, mankind was suffering. The world did not have any gods to look to for guidance. Because of this, what is now known as the Fellowship decided to explore the ancient city of Mahavre with the goal of meeting these old gods who had left mankind in peril. Eventually, they would end up at the Golden Gates where Olmir once ascended himself at the year of 0. The Fellowship had bested all the trials set by the old gods, except for one, the fifth member of the Fellowship, the Forgotten One, also known as Nostradamus. The Forgotten One started doubting the goal of the Fellowship. Even so, the Fellowship followed through and eventually ascended to higher beings, everyone except for Nostradamus. These 4 new gods will create a new world order without the old gods, an age of growth and prosperity. These new gods are the same that we can meet in the Fair and Hunger game in the year of 1590. At this time, they are long forgotten and are only known as simple legends more than anything. But even so, their powers are still immense. And now, let's go over the Fellowship and see who these people are. First off, my favorite little critter, the Tormented One. The Tormented One, previously known as Ron Kambara, is a poet. His soul was, of course, the tormented soul. He believes that real art can never be made without true pain and suffering. His appearance is that of a skinless man, with chains that inflict pain on himself. With this ever-excruciating pain bestowed upon himself, he also likes to inflict this type of pain on other people. The best example being the Red Man, who has endured torture by the Tormented One for hundreds of years. Poor guy. You gotta give it to him though. The Tormented One is a man of principle. He said true art can't be made without suffering. And then this statement became the very existence he has to endure for the rest of his life. His whole life as a new god is an art piece in a way. Next up, Valtail. Valtail is the Enlightened One. The appearance of Valtail is just a big head with a big brain. Continuing the legacy of the libraries of Mahavre, he continued expanding the libraries with information and even conducted a few experiments on his free time. His goal was the pursuit of creation, the art of making artificial life. He believed that he could bridge the divide of the old gods and new gods if he succeeded. The old gods are of course most known for bringing life to the world, and by doing this as a new god, one could potentially prove himself more worthy of godlike powers. Even so, the life that Valtail made were in no way perfect. The closest he would get to make a life with a real soul would be the embryos. Over time, Valtail realized that true enlightenment is impossible, and he started viewing his ascension to a new god as a mistake. Nostradamus, the Forgotten One, was right, according to Valtail. In the year of 1590, we can find Valtail. He apparently hung himself. Even so, we can find Valtail as a retired new god in the Grand Hall in the year of 1942 in Fair and Hunger Termina. Then we have Nilven, the Endless One. She was born with the Endless Soul. Duh. Once ascended, Nilven established herself in the Tower of Endless in Mahavre. Nilven is all about the limitless potential of humankind and believes that anything can be achieved through perseverance and effort. Foreshadowing! Her appearance is uniquely normal. Her skin has a golden tint, she wears blue trousers, a white veil and a crown of thorns. Not much is known about Nilven's powers, but we do know she can visit people's dreams. She probably possesses some more abilities too, but just visiting people's dreams is cool enough in my opinion. As the reign of the Fellowship started to fall, Nilven wanted to continue her legacy. She then heard about a man who was prophesied to unite warring states without resorting to violence, Legard. Nilven visited Legard in his dreams and made sweet, sweet love with him. Apparently, you can get pregnant in dreams, because Nilven bore a child. This child will become more important real soon. Lastly, we have Francois, the Dominating One. Of course, no surprise, he's born with the Domination Soul. His place after the Ascension was in the throne room of Ascension. He ruled his land with an iron fist, and in his free time he was breeding and training a few hounds that will later be known as Jagged Jaw. His appearance is that of a soldier, almost, with a golden sword and golden hands. He also possesses the power to turn fully gold. Doing so will increase his power tremendously. As the name suggests, Francois is all about dominance. In a way, his behavior is akin to Nashra. He really loves to talk smack and is clearly egotistical and selfish. Over the years, Francois, like most other new gods, realized his time of reign was over. He also realized that true domination does not exist. If we meet up with Francois in the year of 1590, he even tells us to go back in time and take out his younger self, which most people playing the game of course end up doing. If we then go back in time and kill Francois, we'll get the opportunity to sit on the throne of Ascension. If you try sitting on the throne with Legard in your party, he will tell you "Nuh-uh," and sit on the throne himself, ascending and becoming a new god. Legard, as previously mentioned, was the prophesized one, the one who is going to stop all war and lead humanity into a new dawn. When Legard ascends, he becomes the Yellow King. His soul is, well, he has no soul, literally, or kinda. Once ascended, he in a way becomes an amalgamation of all the members of the Fellowship, embodying a part of every soul of the Fellowship. His appearance is that of a pale man with a crown draped with a yellow dress. He has a snake which is able to heal himself, and he is also able to summon asterisks which are able to attack. Even though Legard betrayed his whole party to ascend and become the prophesized Yellow King, he is surprisingly enough one of the kindest new gods, and will show mercy as long as he bow to his new reign. By doing so, the prophecy will come true and the Yellow King will lead mankind into a new age. If we defeat Francois in the throne room without Legard in our party, the main character that you're playing as will then sit on the throne and ascend themselves, becoming a new god and taking the place of one of the former characters of the Fellowship. Playing as Kahavra will make him become the new Endless One, as he possesses the Endless Soul. His appearance as a new god is almost identical to his human self. His shirt design seems to be branded to his chest now, and his hair is a bit fuzzy and it's darker on his face basically. Playing as Darsh will make her become the new dominating one. She possesses the domination soul. Her appearance is, well... Her armor also seems more Eldritch-like almost, and is a lot more similar to Francois' armor. Playing as Enki will make him become the new Enlightened One, as he possesses the Enlightened Soul. His appearance is really similar to his human form, except for the helmet he gets. And if you played Bloodborne, you'll know that this is a reference to the Menses Cage. And what this did in Bloodborne is to restrain the will of the one wearing it, so they can see the world more clearly. And it also worked as a beacon to communicate with Eldritch powers. If you go with the assumption that this works similarly in Fear and Hunger as it did in Bloodborne, it seems that wearing this helmet will make it easier and more effective for Enki to gain knowledge of the world, both directly from seeing things differently in the world, and perhaps indirectly with the help of the old gods. Lastly, we have Ragnvaldr that will become the Tormented One. Since he possesses the Tormented Soul, he literally just gets a bear merged into himself. That seems as though it's trying to eat him. By the looks of Ragnvaldr's face, it doesn't seem pleasant, which seems to be a reoccurring trend with the Tormented Ones. There also exists what is known as Blights, which are lizardmen who previously ascended to godhood, similarly to humans. These can only be found in the Void, the place you end up if you decide to ascend to godhood. Before humans, there were lizardmen, and these Blights are remnants of a distant past where lizardmen ruled the world. Lastly, we got a few new gods introduced in Fear and Hunger Termina, the first one being the Heartless One. Her soul type is, I don't know, man. I literally don't know. There's no heartless soul to be found. Miro has apparently stated that there's going to be a retcon with her. This Reddit user though believes her soul type could be amoral, which is actually quite believable. Heartless and amoral kind of goes hand in hand, so I think this would be a plausible theory for the time being at least. Not much is known about the Heartless One. Apparently she is somewhat of a recent new god who used to be a singer in her previous life. She can be found imprisoned in the Ormer Church, and if you free her, you'll engage in combat with her. She hates new gods, and this might be one of the reasons why she's actually imprisoned. Her appearance is really unique. She's shrouded in darkness that clings to her like clothes. She's equipped with the Red Virtue, and this is apparently one of the two swords forged for the ancient king of Mohavre. She's also equipped with a spear and got devil horns sticking out of her head with a halo of some kind behind her head. She's a formidable foe, and maybe one of the strongest new gods in terms of battle prowess. But even so, she can be defeated just like every other new god. And then we have the Radiating One, a charming little fella with a radiating soul. He serves as a type of vendor in Fear and Hunger Termina. To summon him, you'll have to sacrifice a portrait of a young man at an imperfect ritual circle. He can trade you really good items for rust-colored pearls. Rust-colored pearls can be found in rare dimensions in the burrowing grounds of the Rontels. His powers and goals remain unknown. His appearance is that of a pale man with an almost goth-like look. This may be one of the chilliest new gods that can be encountered in the whole franchise actually. And then we have the Tainted one. She possesses the Tainted Soul. And just like the Radiating one, she serves as a vendor in the game. She will trade soul shards for decapitated heads. And in my opinion, it would seem this is one of the more eldritch and twisted new gods. But even so, she doesn't really do anything harmful. She just collects heads as offerings. Her appearance seems to be that of a throne merged with a woman. That is at least what I always interpreted it as. Lastly, we have the Morning One. He possesses the Morning Soul. The Morning One is only seen as statues actually, both in the first game in Rondon and in Termina inside the Olmir Church. He is revered as a saint apparently. His statues are that of a man or woman in shrouds which obscure the whole body. Even underneath the hood we can only see darkness. And that was all the new gods. Holy crap. Lastly, we got, in my opinion, the most exciting things, and that is the Ascended Gods. The first one we'll cover is Olmir. In short, Olmir is this world's Jesus Christ. Kinda. In one of the stories about Olmir, his father was a false god, which is believed to be a new god, and his mother was a virgin. Another story says he was created by Vitruvia, the deity that designed humans in the very beginning. Sylvian was frustrated with the humans and didn't think they were as perfect as previously imagined. Because of this, Vitruvia wanted to make a perfect human being. And that human is Olmir. We don't know for sure what the true origin story is, but for now, it doesn't really matter. Olmir challenged the authority of new gods, but was eventually captured and crucified. It is said that the pain Olmir endured pushed him over the edge to ascension. He lost all his body here, and he then spent 3 days and 3 nights in Mahavre, and then returned to walk among men, and exacted revenge on all who wronged him. He disassembled the worshipping of new gods completely. His crucifixion marks the year 0, and it's the day we got our first known ascendant god. He is not a new god, but something more. His cultural impact on the world is closer to that of an old god, and with his origins so closely related with the old god of Sylvian, it's no surprise he had the impact that he had. And if we visit the Tomb of the Gods in the first Fear and Hunger game, we can encounter the corpse of Olmir. He's freakishly big too, and you can even use necromancy on him, which gives him an erection. But of course, since I now mentioned Olmir, I think it's time we mention someone else pretty closely related to him. The Sulphur God. The Sulphur God's origin is at the ascension of Olmir. Once Olmir ascended, he put all his worst subconscious traits and placed it in the Sulphur God, and expelled him to the sulphur pits for eternal damnation. Olmir did this so he could ascend as a perfect deity without any bad subconscious traits. Even then, it is speculated that these subconscious traits might have been swapped. Maybe the real Olmir is the one suffering down in the sulphur pits. This theory is stated in-game actually, and can also be backed up by a lot of interesting actions made by Olmir after the ascension. It is said that Olmir exacted vengeance on all who wronged him. He literally waged wars to stop the reign of new gods, wars with a lot of bloodshed. In the Olmir Church we can also see a mural of what looks like a king performing fellatio on Olmir. And in my opinion, it seems a little weird having this perfect deity doing things like this. Whatever the case, the Sulphur God becomes a deity of his own. And even though not directly stated, I think an Ascended God is the title that fits him the best. He does actually have a small following of worshippers too. One of his most known would be Perkele, the guy who's in charge of the Termina festival. Plot twist! Yeah, the Termina festival is not arranged by Rare, it is actually orchestrated by Sulphur. Other notable followers would be the Madman in the White Mold Apartments, Needles, and Stitches. In one of the endings in Fear and Hunger Termina, you can actually become a part of the Sulphur cult yourself. To do so, you have to suffer in the Sulphur pits. You have to experience the same pain that the Sulphur God did. And after you've endured this pain, you'll rise back to the mortal realm, born anew as a servant of Sulphur. And then we have the God of Fear and Hunger. In a way, it is the protagonist of the first game. Her story starts as just a little girl, the child of Nilven and Legard. We meet her trapped in a cage inside the dungeons of Fear and Hunger. If you take her with you and manage to scour the dungeons and take her inside the corpse of the God of the Depths, you'll be greeted with a fight. A fight against this innocent, pure little girl while she starts her ascension. You'll witness the pure agony the girl undergoes as she finally ascends and becomes the god of fear and hunger. This ascended god would unite the world, not through salvation, but through suffering. The fear motivated people, and the hunger kept the people moving forward. The cruel age, as it is known, would revolutionize mankind, propelling humanity forwards with technological advancements. The little girl carried the ancient soul, and by leeching from the traces of the god of the depths, became an almost scarecrow-like figure. Her powers, quite similarly with the god of the depths, allows communication with the often forgotten creatures of the world, especially rodents. Followers of the god of fear and hunger can also get access to spells like Rot, as the name implies, rots a character from the inside out. Lastly, we have a special case of a god. She's not an ascended god in the way that we're used to up until now. Rather, she could possibly be titled an artificial ascended god. The Logic project was a success. This program was all about ascending a human to godlike power, mainly through human means. To do so, an artificial cube of Venushka was created, an artifact that would carry the godly powers of Venushka. This was used to infuse a person with godly powers, and thus ascend to a higher being. The lucky, or unlucky subject would end up being Rayla Haas, Olivia's twin sister. The Logic project would intertwine the consciousness of the subject with electronic technology, making a sort of data tank for all of humanity. A sort of shared consciousness. Imagine all human beings on Earth basically got ChatGPT infused in their brains. Her appearance is, I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. Logic appears as a boss fight in Fear and Hunger Termina, and by beating her, you'll actually enter the shared consciousness in a sort of artificial green hue. And if you remember at the start of the video, the original green hue is where all gods came from. So making an artificial green hue is like completely crazy. Logic has ascended. The machine god is the next step for humanity. The consequences of this ascension is unknown. But just guessing from the previous times an ascended god came to existence, it seems as a new dawn has set for mankind. This was a lot of yapping, god damn. Thanks to everybody who watched this, and I hope you found some enjoyment in me talking about all these types of gods, I guess. There are still a few unknown deities that I didn't really talk about, and that's just because they wouldn't really fit in any of these categories I talked about today. I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one. Right, peace.